Pablo Escobar. The name alone evokes fear, fascination, and a morbid curiosity. Born in Rio Negro, Colombia in 1949, Escobar's journey from a humble beginning to becoming one of the most notorious figures in modern history is nothing short of extraordinary. He was a man who rose from poverty to become one of the wealthiest criminals in history. Growing up in a modest household, Escobar was determined to escape the clutches of poverty. His early ventures into crime included selling contraband cigarettes and fake lottery tickets, but it was the drug trade that catapulted him to infamy. Imagine amassing a fortune so vast, so unimaginable that you could literally lose track of it. Escobar's wealth was so immense that he reportedly spent thousands of dollars on rubber bands just to hold his stacks of cash together. At the height of his power, he was making an estimated $420 million a week. Escobar's wealth, estimated at $30 billion by the 1990s, was the stuff of legend. His money was hidden in various locations, from secret compartments in his properties to buried treasure in the Colombian countryside. Despite his vast fortune, Escobar's life was far from glamorous. He was the king of cocaine, a ruthless drug lord who ruled the Medellin cartel with an iron fist. His cartel was responsible for up to 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the United States, making him one of the most powerful men in the world. His operations were sophisticated, involving a network of labs, distribution channels, and a small army of loyal enforcers. His empire, built on a foundation of cocaine trafficking, stretched across continents. From Colombia to the United States, Europe, and beyond, Escobar's influence was felt worldwide. His ability to evade law enforcement and maintain control over his empire was a testament to his cunning and ruthlessness. Escobar's story, however, is not just about unimaginable wealth. It's also about the duality of his existence. On one hand, he was a loving family man who enjoyed the simple pleasures of life, such as playing soccer with his children and hosting extravagant parties. On the other hand, he was a cold-blooded killer who would stop at nothing to protect his empire. It's a cautionary tale of ambition, violence, and the corrupting power of absolute power. Escobar's reign of terror left a trail of bloodshed and destruction in its wake. Thousands of lives were lost, and entire communities were torn apart by the violence and corruption that accompanied his rise to power. His story serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of the drug trade and the lengths to which individuals will go in their quest for power and wealth. Born in 1949 in the slums of Medellin, Colombia, Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria came into a world where opportunities were scarce and survival was a daily struggle. The slums of Medellin were a harsh environment, filled with poverty, crime, and a constant fight for resources. Escobar's early life was marked by poverty and a thirst for more. Growing up in such dire conditions, young Pablo was acutely aware of the limitations imposed by his environment. He watched as his family struggled to make ends meet, and he vowed to change his fate. He started small, engaging in petty crime to escape the grip of destitution. From stealing tombstones to resell to engaging in small-time theft, Escobar was determined to rise above his circumstances. These early criminal activities were just the beginning of his journey into the underworld. His ambition, however, knew no bounds. Escobar was not content with merely surviving. He wanted to thrive. He had a vision of wealth and power that extended far beyond the slums of Medellin. His relentless drive and cunning mind set him apart from his peers. The young Escobar soon realized that true wealth lay not in stealing radios, but in something far more potent: cocaine. In the 1970s, the drug trade was burgeoning, and Escobar saw an opportunity to capitalize on the growing demand for cocaine. He understood that this white powder could be his ticket to unimaginable riches. Colombia in the 1970s was ripe for exploitation. The country's political instability and economic challenges created a perfect breeding ground for illegal activities. Escobar, with his sharp instincts, knew how to navigate this volatile landscape to his advantage. The demand for cocaine in the United States was skyrocketing, and Escobar saw an opportunity. The American market was insatiable, and Escobar was ready to supply. He began to build connections, establish routes, and create a network that would soon become the infamous Medellin cartel. With cunning and ruthlessness, he climbed the ranks of the underworld, transforming himself from a small-time crook into a major player in the cocaine trade. Escobar's operations expanded rapidly, and he became known for his brutal tactics and strategic mind. He was not just a drug dealer, he was a mastermind. He was about to change the world, and not for the better. Escobar's rise to power would bring unprecedented violence and corruption, affecting countless lives. His legacy would be one of terror and bloodshed, as he pursued his cocaine dreams with relentless determination. The world would soon know the name Pablo Escobar, and the impact of his actions would be felt for generations to come. Escobar, along with his brother Roberto, was not just a criminal mastermind, but a man who would go down in history as one of the most notorious figures in the world of organized crime. Together, they built an empire that would forever change the landscape of illegal drug trade. And other notorious figures like the Ochoa brothers formed the Medellin cartel. The Ochoa brothers, Jorge, Juan David, and Fabio, were instrumental in the cartel's operations, bringing their own brand of ruthlessness and cunning to the table. This ruthless organization would come to dominate the global cocaine trade. By the 1980s, the Medellin cartel controlled the majority of the cocaine that was being smuggled into the United States, making billions of dollars in the process. Imagine a network so vast, so intricate, that it could move tons of cocaine from the jungles of Colombia to the streets of Miami, New York, and Los Angeles. This network was a well-oiled machine, with every cog working in perfect harmony to ensure that the drugs reached their destination. The cartel's operations were a marvel of logistics and brutality. They had a sophisticated system in place that allowed them to produce, transport, and distribute cocaine on an unprecedented scale. This system was backed by a level of violence that was unmatched in the criminal underworld. They established clandestine labs in the Colombian jungle, producing cocaine on an industrial scale. These labs were hidden deep in the jungle, far from the prying eyes of law enforcement, and were capable of producing hundreds of kilograms of cocaine every day. To transport their illicit cargo, they employed every method imaginable, from small planes landing on remote airstrips to trucks, boats, and even human mules. The cartel's ingenuity knew no bounds, and they were constantly coming up with new ways to smuggle their product into the United States, to sophisticated submarines that could evade even the most vigilant coast guards. These submarines were a testament to the cartel's innovation and determination, allowing them to transport large quantities of cocaine across the ocean without detection. Escobar's empire was built on a foundation of violence, and he never hesitated to eliminate anyone who stood in his way. From rival drug lords to law enforcement officials, no one was safe from Escobar's wrath. His reign of terror left a trail of blood and destruction in its wake, forever changing the face of Colombia. The Colombian government, along with international agencies, launched numerous operations to dismantle the cartel. These operations were met with fierce resistance, as the cartel fought back with everything they had. The streets of Colombia became a battleground, with gunfights and bombings becoming a common occurrence. Despite the violence and chaos, Escobar lived a life of luxury. His infamous Hacienda Nápoles was a sprawling estate complete with a private zoo, a collection of exotic cars, and even a bull ring. This opulence was a stark contrast to the poverty and suffering that plagued much of Colombia. In an attempt to win the hearts and minds of the Colombian people, Escobar also engaged in numerous philanthropic efforts. He built homes, soccer fields, and schools for the poor, earning him a Robin Hood-like reputation among some of the local population. However, this was merely a facade, as his true nature was that of a ruthless criminal. Escobar's reign came to an end in 1993 when he was killed in a rooftop shootout with Colombian National Police. His death marked the end of an era, but the legacy of the Medellin cartel lived on. The cartel's influence continued to be felt long after Escobar's demise, as new criminal organizations rose to take its place. Today, Medellin has transformed itself from a city once synonymous with violence and drug trafficking to a symbol of resilience and innovation. The scars of the past remain, but the people of Medellin have worked tirelessly to rebuild their city and create a brighter future. The story of Medellin's underworld empire serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of the drug trade, but also as a testament to the strength and determination of its people. As Escobar's wealth grew, so too did his extravagance. He built luxurious mansions complete with swimming pools, tennis courts, and even a private zoo. His estate, Hacienda Nápoles, became legendary. Imagine a sprawling 7,400-acre estate home to exotic animals like hippos, giraffes, and elephants. Escobar spared no expense to indulge his every whim. His spending habits were legendary, from flying in famous musicians for private concerts to reportedly burning piles of cash to keep his family warm while on the run. His wealth, it seemed, was as boundless as his ambition. Beyond the mansions and the money, Escobar was a man of contradictions. He was known for his love of family, often showering them with lavish gifts. He also had a peculiar fondness for hippos, importing 4 of them to his private zoo. These hippos, after his death, would escape and create an ecological problem in Colombia. He cultivated a Robin Hood image, building schools and hospitals in impoverished neighborhoods. However, his philanthropy was often seen as a cynical attempt to buy the loyalty of the people he terrorized. He was a complex figure, capable of great generosity and unspeakable cruelty.